Let's just stay here because I think I like this silence and this pause. I think I like it. So,
Okay,
what do you have to say? I mean, how was your day today?
great, interesting. Uh, yeah, it was a mixture of anxiety, but at the same time, lots of things going well. So it was interesting. Can you hear me?
So I'm liking this slow rhythm. I think
Okay,
it's
me
gonna.
too.
I think it's gonna be really good for us.
Yes.
So you said lots of things went well. So then something depends upon that, right?
Hmm. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like it, sometimes not.
Probably any day something went well and something went bad, right? And then we look at one part or we look at the other part. And so then at least at that part of it, we have some kind of control where we're either going toward what's not working or going toward what's working. Is that true?
Can you expand upon that? I mean, yeah. Um, I'm actually, it's interesting. I'm not, it feels like a total right brain input from you because it's not making any sense. And it's making sense at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Let's stay real simple. Because I just said sometimes you're looking at what works and sometimes you're looking at what doesn't work. That's not esoteric. That's not right brain or left
Okay.
brain. That's just the simplest thing in the world.
Yes. Yes.
Right now, for me, seeing you feels really good. So I would say that it works. Right now, it's working great.
Yeah, same here. And I really enjoy that slowness thing, actually. It's good for me, yeah.
We're really not esoteric here. We're not trying to see meaning into the unseen, or we're not trying to make different levels, or trying to say that something is happening that doesn't seem obvious. Because we're just go to what seems obvious. Because if I tell you some kind of a esoteric truth or some spiritual truth or something, the most obvious thing is that it's not happening right now, right? And then it becomes a goal and a judgment point. And so then we're trying to avoid looking away from this moment. So we don't want any goals, really. I mean, we're going to get there anyhow, whether we have the goal or not. And then we don't want any judgment points because every time we have a judgment, it kind of it's like an anchor our brain hooks onto, tonk, and like our thought process screeches to a halt. And so then that's part of the experiment is to avoid that kind of thing. And the way we do it is not give principles, not give truths.
Yeah, yeah, that feels very good. That's something I had been starting to feel in my own life before even this experiment, and it's just basically it feels like the experiment is helping to let go even more of the mind wanting to explain all these things. It's like authorization to, and some explanations can be great too, but I see it's been so helpful in the not grasping, um, and the polarities being actually continuum. That has been a huge gift.
We don't say that either, because if we said that we don't grasp for explanations and we don't have to have explanations, the most obvious thing is that there's an explanation right now, right? So we would be missing the boat again, and we'd be judging ourselves, saying that we're not getting this right. But we say that explanations are always happening. In fact, that's all we know is explanations. And all we're saying is hold our meaning lightly. Hold our meaning lightly, and then if there's ever appears to be a choice, take the one that's more friendly to yourself. If if you can see the light to that, but there's no directive on that either, because if I make a directive, always be more friendly, and you said, oh, oops, I wasn't friendly this time, I wouldn't want to be taking you away from what's happening right now. So then, can you understand the difference in that? How I'm trying to subtly say that nothing is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. How was your day?
Just beginning.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So anyhow, my night was very restful. So let's see. So if nothing is wrong, there's nowhere to go. Because I want you to be here in your life and meet what's happening, or what you think is happening, or what you interpret what is happening. And I don't want you to be yearning for something else, right? And saying, oh God, my life, oh yeah, yeah, it lasts too long this way. But all that has to do with somebody telling you it could be different, right? Of course it could be different. It's different every second. No yearning. So now you have the address of no yearning. You know where it is. You just hop on your bicycle and drive over there. You can go to no yearning at any time. You can revisit this space, and you know that in amongst all of the yearning and all of the dissatisfaction, there is this space of no yearning. It's right here. You know, and you want to work with thoughts and ways and actions and plans, and you get to yearning too much, drop right in. Bingo. It doesn't take you 1 second to go to no yearning when you know the address. Do you get that?
Yeah.
We have no directives that say you should do it this way, right? You should do no yearning. More is better. We show you where it is, and it's kind of like in a state of absent of principles, where principles are all taken lightly, and you don't have to trounce on any principles or try to kick them out or try to get rid of them or anything. It's just kind of a let go. And then we're just, the experiment is that everything is more like effective from that, not always from that position, but like when you know that place, when you know that's kind of like central to every moment. No yearning is really central to every moment, and you can visit it absolutely any time. In the midst of falling off a cliff, halfway down, you can visit it, no matter what. That's your power. Anything that you say you know, anything that you say you understand, anything that you explain, any justification you give, it automatically sets up a judgment point and a destination that you're going to get there. It sets up time. It sets up a job that you need to do. You can have fun with jobs too, but sometimes you can get exasperated by jobs, to-do lists. And so we're not really doing that, but we don't prohibit any of those either. It's just a light touch, very light hand on your thought processes. I don't know if that explains it.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not very good at explaining that.
You
See,
don't have
because,
to.
yeah, I know. I mean, you're getting it now, but I mean, like on the writing and on the forum and stuff, people think that I'm against everything. And that's the farthest from the point. I'm just trying to explain the light touch and taking meaning lightly and what that is exactly. Everybody thinks that, oh, that means that nothing is true and I live in, I don't know what they think, but they're not getting it, because otherwise it's so easy. It wouldn't take so long, and it wouldn't be such a struggle, and there wouldn't be any confusion.
Yeah. And maybe hangouts help quite a bit, the visual, the rhythm. Yeah. Something came up for me, a question. It's not new. It's been going on for years, actually, because how to relate to friends and family. I cannot always stay in this space of not knowing, because there seems that if I hang out like I do with you now, in a space of more silence, less talking, it happens every so often if they are themselves in a quiet place and after we've talked out. But right from the beginning, there seems to want to be stories, and if I don't answer, then they start to have interpretations. Like you said a little bit on the forum, on the written part. And this is something that I've questioned myself about again and again and again. Because I start to play the game, their game, and I feel, of course, not satisfied and frustrated and exhausted with it. Am I making sense?
First of all, it's your game. It's not their game, right? It's just a rhythm of it's a rhythm of thought, and you have a different rhythm than they. So, what's different about it? It's just different, right? It's still a rhythm of thought. And then you could say, look, I mean, I've realized that a lot of stories are very interpretive, and I'm seeing different interpretations. And when you start to see a few of them, you're not so tightly married to one or another. So then I'm having a period in my life where I'm enjoying extra space around each occurrence, which means I could interpret it in the old way. I could interpret it in a way that caused distress for me. I could interpret it in a way that it's okay, that it's just part of a process. You don't have to tell them it doesn't exist or anything, But just say that with wider interpretations, I don't like to be so quick with just coming back with an agreement or disagreement. And then you can even, okay, I'm you and you're the relative, right? And you can even see right now, like, we can just be here, even without considering those situations. And something about us opens up more, and something about our hearts connect more. And we're not having to be so sure about where we've been and where we're going to, and how people are about that, whether they're with us or whether they don't want to come with. And everything's okay. First of all, if you accept it as you instead of saying it's them, that's a huge step down from being a victim.
And as I was formulating, I figured that's the first thing I thought about. It's not them, and I just see. So then, my issue is just to very quickly jump back into the old way of functioning as if it was expected of me. It's not even. It's so automatic. It goes so fast, and not always. I mean, there are times when I step back and I end up talking a lot less, and it works. It's just when I when I just automatically kind of go in a fast speed way of communicating, which I mean I do. I don't blame them, but yeah.
You might blame yourself, because when I said you're empowered by not being a victim, I didn't mean you're guilty by being a victim.
Yeah. It's true. Yes. Yes.
See, our automatic reaction is to say, "Oh, I'm right, you're wrong," or even say, "We can't say that because I know you'll go off on a tantrum if I say it, but I know that I'm right and you're wrong." Or we'll go to agreement, disagreement. We'll go to so many things: desperation, or like it never works for me, or these guys I can't get along with, or it must be them, or is it me, or I'm incapable. Instead of just saying a few things like I said to you, like I'm realizing there's so many options in how we can interpret, and why should I be hung up on one more than another? So that slows me down. I'm not able to fire back and say, "Oh yeah, this is the way it is. That's the way it is." You know, I'm standing in this place where I see that such a big component of my life is how I look at it. So that's the story I tell. You can just say this to a person, you know. You don't have to say, "Oh, your story's wrong, mine is better." No, you just say like, I'm doubting every story. So don't feel like I'm picking on you by doubting your story. I'm doubting all mine too. But anyhow, who knows? It's not really that painful, or maybe I'll know more later. But this is just a period when I'm allowing more options to not to confuse me, but just to be available for me to see if there's choice, see how I can steer my life.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very cool that you say that because I've started doing that. I started saying that very straightforwardly, and they're actually open to it. It's very, yeah. Yeah. Mm. No, there's no problem.
Actually, maybe it's just interpretation, and I always choose the more friendly to myself interpretation. It seems like I'm just doing that automatically without any kind of like guesswork or any kind of laboring over it. And so then, if I report to you, I report that my life has never been better, ever, 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 ever. On all, I could tell you 20 different fronts that every last one of them is like tip top number one, never better, right? And I think that is so easy. I'm convinced that I'm not a special case, and that I could share this. And so I want you to be free. I want you desperately. I want, to you to be free because I think it's so, so simple. And that's the basis of all this group and so on and so on. Oh, I'm not trying to tell you anything. The text is just a track so that we can take off from somewhere. I'm just laying down a track, but it's the widest track I know, and I don't know, maybe it starts wrong. I think there's a lot of bad feeling to it because people are feeling sad and like nothing's working because I point out what doesn't work, right? And so then that feels bad, and then people share, you share all the things that doesn't work, and then so maybe it's done in a wrong-headed way. Maybe the track that I'm laying down is not all that cool or upside down or. But anyhow, I have this belief that it can't be just me. It's just simple. It's so simple. I mean, I'm sure I could talk to anyone in the world, whether they're presidents or gurus or the Dalai Lama or people that are autistic or crazy or criminals. Anyone. It's got to work, you know. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's just a little bit change, right? It's just a little bit more than yesterday of openness. Openness, everyone can open. And what do you open from? You open from your own explanations, your own justifications, your own beliefs, your own worldview. It's just universal. How could it not be?
Well, perhaps the part of talking about the things that don't work were like a good measuring stick. For me it was kind of like I knew this was not the. I didn't want to talk about all my problems and all that stuff. I don't like it, and but somehow it felt like, okay, I'm jumping in. I'm just gonna play the worst of the old and see how do I get out of that. So in a way, it's um, by jumping in, it's with yeah, it's like a measuring. It's like showing me that definitely there's a huge difference of how I feel when I tell that story or that story. Yeah.
Just to be clear, I'm not blaming you at all. I'm taking
No,
full responsibility. The way I started the book and the way it just kind of goes that way. And then I've kind of invited all of you to come along on that trip. Like, what doesn't work? And I think acknowledgement from chapter 2, we talked about acknowledgement. If you don't acknowledge, then nothing can happen. So then, in a way, it's really important. But the feeling goes with the acknowledgement, and you can get kind of dreary about the whole thing. But anyhow, you're seeing so many things, so that I'm not totally not saying, oh, yeah, you shared too many things that were not working. No, you did perfect, and you really wanted to air out the linen. You take it all out and say, let's start at the very bottom. I want all this stuff to be fresh, clean, rewashed. I don't want any dirty linen on the bottom. So you
exactly.
did really good. You did really, really, really good.
I never took it personally when you said what you said. I didn't feel blamed at all from you. Yeah, I just yeah. And I also, to be honest with you, I don't look forward to be triggered. I don't do this anymore. But if it happens, I welcome it as a signpost, as like, oh, okay, and the mirror and all that stuff. So I've been doing that for years with people. I cannot stay in the victim blame game for very long. Sometimes longer than others, but but there are opportunities for sure. That's where I know where my growth is. Like that's the little bit that somehow, you know, life is showing me. Like you said, maybe you could open up a little bit here. So I'm extremely grateful for you, for this forum, for what you've written, and I enjoy the mind. I mean, I do, and I do enjoy your writing also. Uh, I enjoy all of it. I enjoy, the less logical, less linear also. So it feels very yummy to me, and that it's a broad spectrum. It's not so narrow. I really enjoy that. It's the first time I come across something that is, so broad.
Maybe there's a feeling to that. It's like, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of work because I have to do it all. I'm empowered to be responsible for everything. And you say, oh no, that's too much. Let me just let the outside be in control. Is it scary?
You mean for you or for me?
You, not me. I don't get scared.
Oh, is it scary that it's so broad and
Yeah, yeah.
oh, oh no, no, I actually like to be taken on. It's like it's like being taken on a dive, and you know it's like going well, and then say, "Woo, a shark!" or or maybe you go down in the you have sceneries that change. You know, it's fun. No? I mean, for me, that's what life is. See, this is you're answering whether you know. It's like a deep longing that I have and had all my life is to see life. I saw right away that if there was any compartmentalization and if something was wrong, because I'm human and you know, it just and I think that's when the times when I've doubted of teachings in my life is when I've realized this cannot be the answer. It's not possible. It's completely forgetting about all these parts. This cannot work, and so there's a big relief in me to just finally come to a place of personal understanding that there's no such thing, but also it being expressed by somebody else, like you and the forum and Michel and other people. It's finally, it's we can just play. You know, there's um, and it can be, you know, even if it's scary or dark or it's like it's okay. It's you know. It has to be all has to be accepted, otherwise it's going to be feeling worse for sure. And no, I don't mean it has to be accepted like a concept of oh I have to accept and acceptance. I don't mean that.
You see, if you don't have external principles, adopted thoughts, adopted worldviews, there's no rejection.
Yeah.
So if there's no rejection, there's no acceptance. Acceptance is a myth that you can accept something. Just stop rejecting it. So then you're not in charge of rejecting it either. You're not at fault. You've just adopted some thoughts that gave you standard. And that standard said, oh, standard not happening now, it must be a destination. And so then that standard turned into a judgment point or a benchmark. And so then there's a rejection. So then when you realize those standards, you can't erase them, so you have to just hold them lightly. Right? And when you hold these things lightly, then there's no rejection and everything is accepted. Like this is what's real. And everything that your goals and your standards and your benchmarks and your judgments are not real. They're thoughts. They're not happening. You know, what's happening is this. And so then those benchmarks and standards are some relief from this. But you don't need relief from this because the only distress about this is the fact that you're judging it with those judgment points and that, you know, someone gave you that gift. Some teacher said, oh, bliss. And you said, oh my God, now no bliss. I could get there though. And that's a huge work, you know. And then now it's just all bogus. It's all false. You're already there. It's a total false path, right? So that's how can you, I mean, okay, we're never, ever, ever saying that human beings don't react or don't have reaction, you know, trigger points built in. These
I
trigger
get that.
points are just these standards that you have picked up, right? And then, of course, the obvious solution is to put them back down. But, you know, that takes a little bit of seeing, a little bit of presence, a little bit of being here, a little bit of the gap, a little bit of, you know, gap and no gap. It's just like we said early on, that right now there's a center that is here and feels good. And you can visit it anytime. It's no big deal. It's the easiest thing. I would never give a process to get there because then it would be a hard job, right? I would just say, go there now.
Yeah, I mean that's what's that keeps on coming back. It's great. Like I see you're not giving a process, and it's really interesting to have. I love it, and to have watched my mind sometimes trying. So is there going to be a summary, point by point, and I'm really enjoying actually watching myself. Uh, Watching that the mind cannot grasp the whole thing. So it's kind of like, yeah, just be now, just be here. Don't try, don't try, don't effort. And that's another part that it makes me smile too. I mean, it's that's very enjoyable. It's kind of like letting you're on the ride and you're on the roller coaster and you say, Yahoo, okay, I don't have to think.
Okay, let me tell you something. You said the mind can't grasp this whole thing. There is no whole thing. There's nothing for the mind to grasp. It just has to stop fabricating and everything kind of dissolves, right? I'm not saying that there's not a null point or a nothing, but I'm not glorifying that nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a place that you should go to by hook or by crook, by any means, that any means justify the end. I'm definitely saying when you don't have fear, you don't have thoughts, because there's nothing to think about. So then you would arrive at that point of no thought, or just playful thoughts. And then when you look at your fears, you see that, hey, it's not here. It's in my mind, it's in the future, it's in what if. It's a what if failure story. So then there's no big picture to grasp. See, if you say that I'm just going to let go of my mind and realize I can't grasp, there's a thing out there that you're supposed to grasp, but you're not going to do it. You're inadequate to do it. I'm telling you there's nothing to grasp, and that you're already here, and that you're totally, totally, totally adequate. Completely. And it's just these trigger points, which are old stories in the stack, and they're going to cause reaction. And then when you look at them, at the ones you can look at, let's say some of them are overpowering, and you just go on to tilt. So let's just take the ones, because I desperately want you to have a success, many, many of them, and build one success on another on another. What's a success? It's just realizing that fears are not true, and there's nothing to trouble over, and that from that state, your activity is the most effective it can be. I can't prove it, but let's just assume that as part of the experimental model. And so whatever you do from that state, what state? The state of letting go of something, not everything. Whatever you're capable of letting go today. Letting go doesn't mean a big effort of sweeping out the house. It just means seeing that those thoughts are obsolete. I don't need them, right? No interest. Bye. So I want you to have a success. I'm not here to restory for you. I'm not going to be around. You can read my book. I'm not going to write another one. It's finished. So I desperately want you to have to start building on what you can build on, and not be troubling about what you can't build on in this moment. So then I put up threads, like saying, what are my successes? What have I realized? And those threads, when you share something, it becomes more solid for you. You realize, yeah, I have realized that actually. And so then, one thing you might realize is you can be with painting and you don't have to be. That'll take a huge distress away from you. And you can pick it up later in life. You've done it already once. So then, I don't know. I mean, I can give a lot of suggestions of you could look at this area, you could look at that area, but in the meantime, you have to look at it, right? And you have a lot of insight about a lot of things, but somehow always in front of those lot of things is there's something that blocks. Well, then that's the issue there. It can be a belief. I can't remember yours right now, but like Anita was saying, no mind is a good space. And so then, without no mind, she just waits for the creative space. There's no such thing as no mind.
This has helped a lot.
We don't know that, or we don't care. But in the experiment, we don't go for thinking that no mind is a space, right? We're just saying that mind gets subtle, and so the subtle mind is more dangerous because we think we're in no mind.
Yeah.
So we think we're somewhere where we're not. So we only work with thoughts. It's so effective that there's no need to open another kind of channel to say, oh, I can do meditation too, and then I'll work with thoughts on the side, or vice versa. You just say, look at your thoughts around any distress point. Any distress is a refusal. It's a thought.
Well, it was interesting this morning to find anxiety wasn't really linked to anything, actually. It felt like I was looking, what is the story that's triggering this, and I couldn't really find anything. I mean, sure, I could make it sound like, or like I could find the usual things that I think about, and so it was a sort of a less identification, I could put it that way, with the feeling. I was like, okay, so there's anxiety, and other things are happening that are not anxiety producing. But yeah, okay, that's where it was. That's what happens sometimes. Is this feeling of things being triggered, and the only word that I can use is it feels like it's subconscious. So it's like I can't see the thread that's linking the emotions and the thoughts. So then I go, well, what's to restore you if I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I get you. Okay, there's a mood that kind of seems to be over everything. And then it's probably because somehow you're holding it that you've been hit by a barrage, a broadside for the last 10 years or whatever. You've been broadsided again and again and again. In other words, hit by so many cannonballs that you don't know which one to shield from. So actually, that's a thought. That's a single thought called overwhelm. So maybe things are coming fast. Maybe things are coming fast. But they're only one at a time. So it's a mood-producing thought that doesn't seem like it has any any connection to any one happening. But it's, if you notice that a lot, just think about overwhelm. Is overwhelm really true? Or, I mean, am I really being broadsided? Okay, things might happen fast in my life. You know, it's just logic. Like a few, okay, like people that believe that you should turn away from what doesn't work and turn away from their fears. You don't face up to what what life is calling you to do, so it gets worse and worse, right? So then you have to turn away more. So then it becomes a broadside. You build it so that it's a, you know what I mean by a broadside? It's like a boat that pulls up beside you and shoots all its cannons at once. You build that because you don't diffuse any of those cannons. Your action steps are out, right? And so you build up a broadside, and then you get to a place in your life where you are on overwhelm. But it's overwhelm is one thought, and things are coming fast for you, probably because you haven't met a lot of areas of your life. I mean, these are just assumptions, right? But you can just run them by and see if that doesn't somehow uh, give you a new resolve to say, look, maybe today I'll just consider one of those small cannonballs and just see what the heck. I know it seems like a lot of work to get them all done, but let me just do one. Maybe a couple of them are imaginary, or whatever you want to say about it. Does that have a feeling to it? Does that somehow lift your mood?
Uh, Up to part of the broadside, the overwhelm. The part that is feels heavy is the part that I tell myself every day. You should do one task every day or do one thing every day and move forward. But what I have to say though is lately things have been very different on that level. I feel like there is movement. There has been movement, and simply because there is an opening, but it's not even, I can't even describe what happened because it's not like, see, in the past I tried to open, I tried to say, okay, and be open to a job, be open to moving, be open to, and that wouldn't work. And so it's something different that's happening because, the thing with the car, it's all resolving itself it goes into, it's not super straightforward, but it's really funny to watch how incredibly well it's resolving itself. And yesterday, I'm walking in the street and going to that store where I'm this store owner I've known for a while became a friend in July and blah blah blah. And yesterday he said, do you have a job? And I said, no, but I would love one. And he said, oh, then, maybe I can hire you part-time for the holidays or, things like that. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing. That's so funny. I'm not even asking for anything. I'm not coming with this energy of wanting him to give me anything. And at the gallery today, I went to visit the women and the owners, and I were talking, and I said, hey, because they were hired a new person. I said, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, but if you want to hire me, and it was all joking and open. There was no tension of, nothing was, felt like something that I should do or should have done or expect and that feels, whether it's a yes or a no, whether it works out or doesn't work out, there's not this huge waiting on me, and yet things are moving and can move quite fast even. Even with the selling of the paintings, is right when I go, this isn't working, and I let go, and then boom, boom, I get. So it's been like this, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the actually things. Oh yeah, yesterday I'm thinking, God, do I still have my AAA membership? And I think, yeah, I need to call, and I completely forgot. And then I get in the mail Christopher brings me the mail, and he's like, "Would you like to renew your membership?" I didn't even know it had run out, and I thought, "How perfect timing!" So it's just this funny feeling that when there's less stress, it's just things actually move better. I mean, I don't want to make that a concept either, but yeah.
Yeah, be careful about making a concept out of that. You don't need that concept. That things are good when you
No.
put your hands off. You don't want to put your hands on, right? And even the universe is spilling over to you, just saying here, opening here, opening there, opening, opening, opening. It's just spilling over, right? Can you imagine? Okay, you've got such a downer on should be's or like plans or goals, right? That kills you, right? And then you come up with all the reasons why those jobs wouldn't be any good anyhow. When I was in Italy, I asked for a job 1,000 times. Maybe more, maybe 2,000. I don't even know. So many times you can't believe it. My main job was asking for a job, which means resumes and visits and going to every trade show on every sector and talking to every company and a million, million, million. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. And I flagged for an instant. There was a lot of sadness that I spent so much time that didn't give me a nickel, right? Because I was just asking, presenting myself, so on, so on, to where I thought that I could fit, right? I wasn't presenting myself to the top companies because I wasn't really had a, what do you call it, a career path that they were interested in. But I knew what I was doing. But anyhow, okay, so go back to you. Somehow hands off is a better way to do it. But I mean,
No, yeah, but actually, no. It's what you've given. I was already this year feeling like hands off was not what I wanted. That I kind of there was a desire to get involved again. And this experiment, I saw this opportunity. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So this is not about letting this new age synchronicity come in. It's about being active. But there is still, like you said, there is still a trigger that happens when I hear certain things that are very practical and logical and seem to me completely natural and normal, and still I'm triggered, you know? So I realize this is not even what I will. It's almost like if I had developed, yeah, like you said in the book, like the immune system, like a reaction that comes up, when in actuality, there's no need for that anymore.
these triggers of yours are kind of like very powerful, because you don't just get angry or depressed. Well, depressed maybe. You go flat, like your energy gets sapped. And so then these triggers are really ingenious, like they really do the job. You know, they're very powerful because they take every last inch of energy, or they maybe have your eyes kind of closed so you get into an accident or twist your knee or do something, or they're insidious. But anyhow, there must be a way where you can work with them, right? And not really fire them off 100%, but just kind of like there must be a workaround, right, that you could find. What would that be?
Well, a big part of it is doing the thing, well, playing. Yeah, when I enter the play zone, when I look at something as I've got nothing to lose and nothing, and it doesn't matter to me if I gain or do not gain something from this. Um, you know, few action steps that I'm going to make, then there's more likelihood that I will try it, that I will go into it. There is one that's been, well, there's a couple that are being not so easy for me, but it's worked with the car, with painting. It's been more difficult with the citizenship, the naturalization papers that I know I want it. I know I can fill it up. I know it's a headache. There's nothing complicated about it. Blah, blah, blah. And I can't bring myself to doing it. So that's one of them. And the apartment hunting is kind of not so much fun. And at times they're a little, how would my mother would call it the wink of God, like a little humor there. Like today I found an ad that was in the apartment building I lived in when I got to this country 22 years ago. Same apartment building. So that was kind of just a little, I went there and I called again. So even though I'd already sent an email, I took his phone number, I went to the building and took the manager. So there was more proactiveness, but there was a sort of detachment about it, and then that felt really good. I was on my bicycle, I was going somewhere else, I was going to go visit the gallery and stop at the park. So there was not this kind of like, you got to get this done now. And sometimes this works too, to get it done and tell myself to get it done. Sometimes it works. There's no rule there, but I do, I get very contracted when I think of, okay, now I'm going to go on Craigslist and I'm going to look at apartments. There's this whole, like, this is not going to work. And then I go, no, it's not true. Something might show up. And so I keep on doing that. And then there's another part that says, well, maybe you should try a different strategy. And then there's nothing is coming up. No idea is coming up. Like, there's nothing obvious that seems an action step that I could take. So there's a little bit of, it's, like right now as I'm talking to you about it, it's interesting because I'm not feeling contracted. At other times, talking about it with mom or a friend would get me very contracted. Right now, I'm not all that worried about it, I guess.
I love this rhythm and this choppiness, right?
Yeah.
And it's working for you and me, right? And I am making a little recording. So when you listen to this, you're going to see that you're really wound up, right? You got so many thoughts. You got so many thoughts just about the simple thing like going on Craigslist. And you have to have so many justifications, you believe, right? That, oh, I have nothing to lose and I don't need to have a strong intention on this because a strong intention always feels bad because it never works. And all these rules, you've got tons and tons of rules that are really messing with you. And you have an intention, and you can set out to do a couple things, and you can do one thing a day. Or how can you not do one thing a day unless you're in bed? And then if you're in bed, you're resting. That's one thing. I mean, there's a lot of complication going on. And when you hear this, you're going to see, oh, wow, what a strange kook I am. Please take it lightly, because you're really cool. You're a sparky lady. And let that spark show. Let it come out. And I don't know what to say. The best maybe is just to start small successes. Successes means just say, I'm going to do something and do it. Start to build the power of your word. And then even write it, write that I'm going to say, I'm going to do this. And then that makes me feel kind of bad because I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. And then later you say, well, it all worked out, so my feeling was wrong. And then start to build on that. How can you otherwise, I mean, what other way is there? It's just logic, isn't it? That's the only way I can come up with, because something works in your life. And if it works, maybe a little bit bigger on the same area, you could manage. In fact, for sure, it'll happen, right? Now, if you go from the other direction, something doesn't work, but tomorrow I'm going to flip it. It's going to work. What's the likelihood of flipping it? It's less, right? So then, and then start writing it on the forum, acknowledging this worked for me today. This worked for me today. This worked for me today. This one I think was too big of a step, I got contracted and scared. But still 2 little ones worked.
Can you repeat the flipping not working? What was that one?
Well, you'll get it on the recording, but anyhow, look. If you're looking at one area of your life that seems pretty smooth today, perhaps tomorrow you can expand that area, and it'll still be smooth. It'll still be smooth. You'll say, "Oh, I said I was going to do something, I did it, and it worked. It actually worked better, and I had a lot of fun laughing, and God winked at me at the same time." That's one scenario.
Yeah.
Then the other scenario is that, say, let's take something that doesn't work for you. And you say, I'm going to really apply myself and push hard. And it doesn't work again tomorrow. You're deeper in the pit, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
Yeah. So then just start, But, that doesn't mean take all action steps away from what doesn't work either. Keep a little action going. Action steps are called meeting your life. Meeting the different areas of your life. You do it with action. Sometimes it just comes in as a gift, but then usually you don't take the gift. Right? You've got your reasons why, oh, well, if I go this way, in the end it won't work out anyhow. You've got your doubts and all that. So then you have to get into kind of a success pattern. Success, you understand what I mean by success. Just like where you say something and you do it, and it works out. Whatever it is, when you get into stronger and stronger on that, then you're able to accept gifts too better. If something just falls in and somebody says, "Oh, I would hire you for the holidays." Okay, I'm yours. What time should I report? But you didn't accept that gift. Right? You just said, "Oh, well, synchronicity." Synchronicity is an evil word. Get away from it. It just means like you can't do it, but maybe you'll stumble into it.
Yes, okay.
Those are ways to, I don't know, people try to use synchronicity.
So you're saying, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're saying take a little bit of credit, just slightly, but take a little bit of credit for it.
The truth is synchronicity and opportunity is everywhere. Number one, you get the credit for recognizing it. Number two, you get the credit for saying, I'll do it. I'm going with it. I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to change my life around that one fact. Those are your credits. And synchronicity is nothing. Let's just say it's everything. It's always here. There's a gajillion opportunities right now for each one of us, but we only see a little tiny window because of our stack. And so then it's not like synchronicity is taking any credit. It's just like the sea we're swimming in. Well, that's a good way to look at it anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you start keeping a list of what works?
Okay. Yeah.
You can, you can post on the forum, 20 things worked for me this week. I'll give you the highlight of 3 of them. Don't even say what didn't work anymore. Let's just say that's over with. That period's over. You can tell me if you have to or whatever, you know.
Well, I mean, actually, it's been like this, especially this past couple of weeks. Like since funny enough, with the car stolen, it was from then on. It was just more obvious. Not that it wasn't there before, but it was more obvious that there were plenty of gifts all along, and it just keeps on happening. Not just with the car. I mean, with other things. So like maybe I send a message. To the wife of the owner of the shop, say, hey, I was thinking maybe you want you wanting to do French conversation again, or and then her husband says, oh, maybe we can hire you for, so it was just this funny thing about, I could have in the past. I think I would have waited. I wouldn't have sent an email again, thinking, and don't be pushy. And she said she was busy this season, so don't even try to just wait until she gets back to you. And then I thought, and I did the same thing with a painting with a woman who was interested in buying the painting and then never got back to me. And so I sent an, but now I'm taking things more lightly. So I'm saying it's, and I noticed this has to do, with the experiment, like just not saying, oh, you shouldn't do this. Just do it, but do it lightly. And then what happened is somebody else bought a painting and somebody else offers me a job. And so it's been, like that, yeah. Like what is working, and it's not linear, and it's great in this way. It's more, it's like surprises. Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. Sounds like fun. I like that.
I'd like to see you doing more and more, right? And giving yourself permission to have intention and to, I've told you, like when I was in Italy, I asked for thousands of jobs without a ripple of thinking, oh my God, nobody's accepting me, no depression or pain. Yeah, I had sadness, especially in the end when I moved away. And I saw all that work. I had boxes and boxes of company catalogs that I had approached and that I think, my God, I spent thousands of hours doing for and never got anything out of it. And then I got a little sad thinking, oh my God. But while I was doing it, I was just thinking, well, this is what's up for me. And then,
Yeah,
I'm here to see what I can find.
yeah,
And just allow yourself that. And more action steps. Just, they say so many things that if you have to have an explanation, you really don't have to have any explanation. But, you can just ask for a job and send it to God, right? And you don't have to say that I have nothing to lose and I have nothing to gain. And, in that way, you're probably not even able to say yes to it when it does come or even recognize it. But anyhow, I mean, there's no directive about it whatsoever. Just to
yeah.
have fun is the best directive. To be playful with everything, hold everything lightly. You don't know anything, I don't know anything. And this is the best I've come up with to run my life, right?
Yeah, that brings something that I realized also recently with all this is that you can also even be, because there was also, again, this concept at some point, oh, and don't be passionate. And I thought, no, you can just totally go for it, and just even be blind would be okay, to be blindly passionate and then wake up one morning and just realize, oh my God, I've been blindly passionate. And that would be completely okay. Like now I see that, yeah, it's even that is just part of playing with life.
How did you like
Yeah,
that Shiva process, that video?
that was awesome. It was really awesome. I mean, the one thing that comes to my mind as usual when I see processes that involve other people, I always think, well, how can I do it without somebody? Like I can do it for myself, to myself. Not that I'm against going to somebody or helping somebody, but there's always this part of me that wants to figure it out and like be self-sustaining about things. So, but no, it's an awesome process. I just, it is, and even like seeing Nick doing it was reminded me of what Michael told me about compassion, and when he said, "Ask your dog." For me, Nick, in this process, it's compassion without the mushy part. It's gorgeous, beautiful.
In one way, all of my book is a Shiva process, because when I say that doesn't work, it's really only a suggestion to try on to feel. It's like a statement. Maybe it works for you. And what I say that works is a broader context, which is a B statement. And that gives you more room to maneuver and less feeling component to it, less feeling heavy in it. So everything I write is the Shiva process.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I got that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Even
kind of formal, It's like a formal way to work with it, but you really don't need it at all. I like we could do it. We did it already a couple of times. Just I didn't have to say go to the four centers or anything. I did start by saying that there's some. I don't remember exactly what I said. How I said it. That we're just okay right here, and you can find that address and be there anytime. And you were there immediately. And then a story came up, and we talked about it.
Well, because stories are fun too, right? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you asked me what do I think of the Shiva process, because I think it's absolutely awesome, and yet I don't have what I would have had in the past, this kind of longing to either get it or not get it, but it's not like there's not this, oh, this is the key, this is going to solve my problems, and whereas I know how many times in the past I did that with things that were coming along. So this is like, the experiment for me is like, I see it as a crowning process, if that makes sense. It's like you've earned your humanity.
What's your issue now?
Now, at this moment, nothing.
Okay, the Shiva process. I am Anne, and I have no issue at this moment.
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I am Anne, I have no issue in this moment.
I am Anne, and an issue might come up when I hang up this call.
I am Anne, and an issue might come up when I hang up this call.
I am Anne and I take issues too seriously.
I am Anne and I think
I take issues too seriously.
I choose issues too seriously. Eventually chops up with that. I am Anne and I
take
take
issues. I take issues
oh,
too seriously. You know, when they come up, I make a big deal of them.
I am Anne and I take issues too seriously when they come up.
What's the feeling component of those 4 statements?
It felt very neutral, but in a good way, like sort of a yeah. I suppose the part of me that doesn't feel is kind of happy, you know, like, oh, I'm not feeling anything, yay! You know, it's kind of like a peace from feeling emotions.
So, like a B statement would be, I am Anne, and I'm learning to play with the ups and downs of life in a lighter way.
I am Anne, and I'm learning to play with the ups and downs of life in a lighter way.
I am Anne, and I'm willing to acknowledge that when I play lighter with some of the downs of life, ups and downs, they work out. I'm willing to acknowledge it.
I'm Anne, and I'm willing to acknowledge that when I play with the ups and downs of life, and I take the downs more lightly, uh, things I'd forget to work out, or
Yeah,
I forget.
I'm willing to acknowledge that they work out.
I'm willing to acknowledge that they work out. Yeah, that's a big one.
I am Anne, and I'm willing to acknowledge my life works satisfactory on so many fronts.
I'm Anne, and I'm willing to acknowledge my life works on so many fronts. I see there's a part of me that is superstitious. And the contraction often in my life, there's this superstition between what I may say and what will happen as a result. Too afraid to face something that will end up not being true, or jinxed myself.
I am Anne, and I'm afraid to speak my word because it may come true.
I'm Anne, and I'm afraid to speak my word because it may come true.
Remember, I'm just searching around for a feeling. I'm not saying anything that's true. I am Anne, and I would have a lot of regret if I said something bad and it came true.
And I would have a lot of regret if I said something bad and it came true.
I am Anne, and if that happened, I would use that regret to blame myself.
I am Anne, and if that happened, I would use that regret to blame myself.
I am Anne, and I am so used to blaming myself for so many things.
I am Anne, and I'm so used to blaming myself for so many things.
How does that feel?
The last statement is almost laughter. So yeah, and but not heaviness somehow. It's not. It's not a. Yeah. So there is a feeling of. Yeah, I think this. Well, no, I was going to go into. I know you're asking for a feeling, and I was going to say something that
I'll
I
do
was going to
another one.
say.
I'll do another one. I am Anne, and I use laughter to deflect from deep feelings.
I'm Anne, and I use laughter to deflect from deep feelings.
I am Anne, and I don't need to deflect from deep feelings.
I am Anne, and I don't need to deflect from deep feelings.
I am Anne, and I don't need to blame myself for anything.
I am Anne, and I don't need to blame myself for anything.
I am Anne, and I see that my self-blame is not true. I make it all up.
I am Anne, and I see that my self-blame is not true. I make it all up.
I am Anne, and I give myself permission to state my word of what I want. And whether I get it or not, I won't blame.
I am Anne, and I give myself permission to state what I want, whether I get it or not. I won't blame.
I am Anne, and I've seen the power of the word in others, and I give myself permission to develop that power in myself.
I am Anne, and I've seen the power of the word in others, and I give myself permission to use that power for myself.
How are you?
Yeah, there was this place of innocence, and then the last one feels like maturity to me. It feels, well, empowerment, but just this. It's interesting, actually, the two, innocence and maturity. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to laugh about it, because you don't need to deflect from it anymore. It's just maturity. It's so beautiful, and innocence is maturity, because the lack of innocence is all your leftover knowing. That's your oldness or your conditioning. When you let that go, then innocence is what's left over. And then meeting the parts of your life is maturity, and having an intention when you meet a part of your life that wants to be met. And if you don't meet it, it calls to you louder and louder and louder until you can create a war zone. And then start small, that's all. Just start from where you are right now, right today. That's super maturity. Just do what can be done. And don't imagine what can't be done. Because then that becomes kind of a goal and a blame and a judgment and all those things we talked about earlier. So now, you and I are here together, and we just both wish each other well, totally, totally well. I mean, we're meeting too. So I thank you for your huge contribution to the group, to the forum, to me.
And I thank you for your huge contribution to me, to the forum, to life, to yeah. It's yeah, huge gift. And I have to add also that one of the things that I've enjoyed about the interaction with you, even in the past emails or forum, is this excitement about, I don't know, creativity. I don't even know what it means, but there's there's this spark of potential of all these things that could happen. That is very inspiring. Even though there's no concrete, there's nothing. I mean, yeah, there's the experiment in that context, but I don't even limit it to that. It's just, it's been wonderful to get in touch with that again with somebody. It's just, it's like this thing. Come on, people, are there more? Like it's and do things. I mean, I don't mean just like talk about it. I mean, like you said, I think several times with in other places, it's also about concrete things, concrete building, concrete change on this planet, and whatever level. It can be small or big, but there's just this connection to it that feels more real, more practical than just like frou new age stuff. This, I like how you recenter that. Like even in the Shiga process with Nick, at some point, I don't remember what it was, but there was this, and he made a V statement like that about something that you really wanted, something that was, not just this idea that all is great and all is love and all is fine, and there is actually a real living of it, cleaning the toilet and I don't know, but picking the flowers. Am I making sense?
One thing I want to acknowledge before I go is how lucky we are to have Michiel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's a great compliment. Like, yeah, yeah.
And then I want to say what creativity is for me.
Yeah.
And you can see it in Michiel because the way he speaks slowly, you know that he doesn't know what he's going to say from one word to the next. He's standing in the creative field and he's receiving. At that rhythm, he receives like 99%. And creativity is just receptiveness or openness, sure, to ideas, to words, to speech, to action steps, to allowing it just to be magic and work out too. It's willingness for anything. And right up to the last second, don't turn away. Fall over the cliff. Yeah. Fall over the cliff. Halfway down. That's creativity. And the trust in that you can trust that it always, 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 always works. Not when you want it to. You want it to work a day before, right? So you can get all your plans going. But for me, that's creativity, that trust. And it's, you can call it inspiration, that you can be inspired. You can stand in the inspiration field and just walk in totally nude wherever you have to walk without a stitch on, and know that you'll be clothed when you need to be clothed. And maybe you have to build that up. It's there now, but you have to build your trust to it up. And I could say all the things that the spiritual teachings say, but I wouldn't say them because then they become a goal or become something that's not here. I would just put you in a condition to go there yourself and to little by little find out that you can go into creativity deeper and deeper. In a way, it's the same thing, but our path to it is completely opposite. And I think trying to put on a false set of clothes is kind of like it's false, right? And in the end, you have no power whatsoever. You're a paper doll and you got paper clothes on. And the only thing you know is denial. So
That's huge Shiva process right there. Thank you for that.
yeah. Stay with the experiment, stay with it for a while until it becomes second nature. It'll be in your bones. There's no work to it whatsoever. Should we say goodbye?
Yeah, thank you so very much. I'm so, so grateful, Richard. I mean, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We can do it again. We'll do an update.
Okay.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.